What is up, everybody? It is me, Sketch AV, and we are here for the third week of Power Rankings. And of course, as always, I am not alone. We are joined with Tsumami, the co-host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Power Rankings.
So, kind of strange or interesting matches to analyze this week. Um,
Yeah.
I say, unless you have something to say, let's just jump right into it at number
hmm
12.
All right.
And for
At
the
number
first
12.
week, we both have the same team at number 12. That being the Portland Porygons, the only 0-3 team in the league. Did you want to talk about them first, or do you want me to go?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now, just like a disclaimer for like the entire list, like it was super hard to put together, and like Sketch will agree. Like it, you just have to think about it, and like for me especially, I think like I have certain people I know in certain places, and everyone else kind of just filled out. However, for the Portland Porygons, I do definitely have him at number 12 for again being 0-3. Um, Going against Kurt and the LA Dugtrios, right off the bat, like even at team preview, there are two glaring walls to your team being Slowking and Tornadus Therian, and I didn't see enough, like good enough answers for that. Cofagrius maybe for for Slowking, but that had Nightshade, which was not putting out nearly enough damage output, and your team in general just doesn't have a good electric type, and that plus you didn't have a wild charge on Arcanine, so you were really lacking in there. Roserade I think should have come, just because even though it's a poison type which is weak to Slowking's Psychic, it could at least get him on the switch. You did have some nice prep in Colberberry for Mew, which stopped the Black Hole Eclipse. However, you did sack it right after, and you brought in Primarina. Alolan Persian, I just don't agree with bringing it in just because it didn't live two hits from a hurricane, which granted is inaccurate, but and overall, I just don't think that you just didn't have the right team members to really support your team. Like I think you could have done good in this match had you brought the right team.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that team composition is probably the most important thing, or maybe like prep and then team composition. Because if you show up to battle without the right mons to actually get the job done, then it doesn't really matter what you do. You can't really win that. Um, like Sumami said, you really didn't have anything that wanted to deal with the Tornadus, especially considering it has Regenerator, so it'll keep getting its health back. But looking at the beginning of the game, right off the bat, I won't fault you for leaving Mew in against Tornadus, because there wasn't really a way for you to just predict Black Hole Eclipse like that. But the Cobra Berry saved your life, and you still stayed in and let it go down. So it's kind of like you had a blessing, and then you got rid of it. And I don't actually know what the set on Mew was this week, but I feel like regardless of what it was, it could have done a lot for you this match, had especially if you had Heal Bell on his set, because your team did not appreciate the toxic spam that Slowking was bringing to the table. Um, I don't know. I generally don't like to just start roasting somebody like really hard, but I don't actually have too many like great things from how Apollo played. Like too many great things to say. Most of the notes I have are just kind of like flaws. I actually think Z Sunny Day could have been really cool, but he had nothing to stop the Slowking from just coming in and walling it, which is exactly what it did. If you had run like maybe Wild Charge or Solar Beam or really anything that could have done more than like 15 to 20% to it, that would have been pretty nice. But unfortunately, he was able to just come in, toxic it, and take it down. And that was really nice on Kurt's part with the toxic this week. But we'll get to that more whenever we're talking about Kurt. I don't know why you brought Alamamola in when Rotom Vreeze was out. Even if you predicted him to switch, generally Rotom's easiest way to get off of the field is just by going for a Volt switch, and that kind of cost you the Alamamola really early in the game. And I think that was kind of key in winning for you. But I don't know. I don't know. There were definitely flaws. I can't really blame you too much on a Alolan Persian. I mean, like Sumami said, letting it go down to Tornadus wasn't the best idea, considering it wasn't really much that it could do in return anyway. Yeah, overall, it just wasn't the best week, I would say, for the Portland Porygons. Cofagrigus with Disable was kind of cool to see. I don't know why you went for Will-O-Wisp. I forget what turn it was, but I know that you went for Will-O-Wisp when I believe Slowking was in, and it already was toxic. And at that point, 2 of his mons were toxic. He had a fire immunity, and one of them was a special attacker. So the only thing that Will-O-Wisp would have affected and actually done a lot to was Hitmontop. And I don't really see a world where Kurt would have run in Hitmontop against Cofagrigus anyway. But I don't know. I mean, the Portland Porygons did get a new coach in Emotion, or Emotionio. So we'll see how he does next week whenever we get to the PR.
Alright, so moving on, at number 11, we both agree that the newcomer to this league, the Chicago Bulus, are at number 11. And he was the replacement for the Charlotte Beedrills, coached by Jay. Now it's Easy Pickings. And he went up against, oh gosh, I completely forgot. It's Shining Suicune, correct?
Yes, coached by Lucas.
Yes, okay. Now, one of the things I want to comment from the start is something like I really appreciate, and that's player analysis, is that you've noticed that Lucas would lead Electros in the past, and you tried leading Lightning Rod Mega Sableye to counter that. Did it work out? Not exactly, but it's still like a good thought to always have. And Embor had great coverage this match. I will say I don't know how I feel about it being choice locked. You did a lot of damage anyways, and so you didn't really need the band. I don't think you were Scarf, because at Paralyze you were outsped by Suicune, and if you were Specs, then shit, that's just bad prep. I would have rather seen a Life Orb or an Expert Belt. Break Blitz was great on Stoutland. There was an unfortunate burn, but had he gone for Protect, it would have just stalled you out of Sand anyways. And honestly, you just didn't have a good answer for Goodra. Like, it just kind of walled you. I'm sure you had Play Rough on Stoutland, but again, that went down. And overall, I just didn't have much to say. Just because you played really well, there was just a few missteps here and there that kind of built up. What about you?
Yeah, looking at the individual mods, I'll talk about Embor, because you spent a decent section talking about that. I don't particularly have an issue with it being choiced, but unless I'm missing something, I don't see a reason why you were running Blaze over Reckless, since you were rocking out with Flare Blitz and Wild Charge, I believe, on your moveset. I don't know, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you should be able to use both of those moves with Reckless. That would only make sense, since you don't take the recoil damage, and it might actually, I could be wrong saying this, but I think it might also increase the damage of those types of moves, but maybe not, I don't know.
It just reduces.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I thought, for whatever reason, I thought it might, like, up the damage on those. But yeah, I definitely think that Embor would have benefited from having Reckless over Blaze. It would have preserved its longevity for sure, because the only moves I remember seeing you use were recoil moves, and by the time it got to a point where Blaze would have been useful, it was about to go down anyway. I think that Hippowdon kind of went down unnecessarily. You brought it in when Mega Sceptile was out against Goodra, and I guess maybe you were expecting Goodra to go for a Dragon type move, but it does also learn Ice Beam, which you found out. And if you were predicting an Ice move, like if you expected an Ice move to be used on Sceptile, Hippowdon is not a good switch in to want to take that. And ultimately, we just didn't see it do too much besides set up. I think it got Stealth Rocks up and then also setting up the Sand.
It did.
But I feel like it could have been a much better defensive threat if you had opted to keep it around. On that note, it's the same case with Tentacruel. Leaving Tentacruel in against Zygarde 10% is never really the best idea. I assume you left it in to go for Rapid Spin, but you don't want to spin against a physical ground type with Tentacruel. because its physical defense leaves a lot to be desired. It's mostly a special wall. But I think that it could have dealt with things like Suicune and maybe even the Gudra later in the game if you had kept that around. And ultimately, you never even got the Rapid Spin off, so the Stealth Rock stayed around anyway. I think that the Breakneck Blitz in the sand was really cool with Stoutland. And, other than that, I think, like Tsumami said, I think you played well. Just like a lot of flaws, like small flaws that kind of build up and make the difference. But that's all I really have to say about Chicago Blues.
Yeah, same. Okay, so moving on. This is where our list similarities end. At number 10, we have the LA Dugtrios. And do you want to talk about them first?
Yes. Okay, Kurt and the LA Dugtrios did pick up their first win this week, which is cool to see. I finally moved him out of 12th place. Because literally, it's like I said last week. I thought that he played pretty well last week. I just need to see him actually pick up a W before I can move him out of 12th, which is what he did. So he was moved out of 12th. Very strong start with Tornadus, with the Darkinium Z on Mew, and then also following up with the Focus Blast on a Alolan Persian. I think that bringing Toxic on Slowking was such a great idea, because Apollo's team does not appreciate Toxic at all, especially after the Mew goes down, so he has no Heal Bell user. The walls like Primarina, Cofagrigus, Alomomola, none of those really feel like dealing with it, and even Arcanine for that matter, which I believe all ended up getting hit by the Toxic at some point. I do have a couple issues with the way he played. I like the way he used him on top, of course, to keep the rocks off. That's what it does best, and you managed to get rid of the Stealth Rocks, which is nice. The first issue I have is I don't agree with how you played Altaria. I get it, like Dragon resists the fire, so you brought it in against the Arcanine. But this was before it was Mega Evolved, so Altaria on Mega Evolved isn't really the bulkiest thing, and it was still taking Stealth Rock damage. The burn was pretty unfortunate, but I mean, at that point you were so low health that I think he could have just followed up with a move and still done a lot of damage regardless. I feel like Entei was probably the better switch in here. Granted, Entei is also weak to rocks, but it's bulkier than an Unmega Evolved Altaria. And I just don't see what Altaria would have really done in return. Perhaps like you were carrying Earthquake or something. I just think that you could have preserved it a little bit better. You know, if you look at some of the other, like the top teams, what you're seeing with a lot of them is that they've been keeping their Megas around until the end. And I definitely think that Mega Altaria could be one of the most threatening ones in the league if you were just preserving it a little bit better. Last week, this is coming off of the week where it went down to the Sub-Zero Slammer, like almost right at the beginning of the game. So I definitely just want to see that from you. Just make sure that you're keeping that Mega around, because I feel like if you did that, this would have been a much more decisive victory for you. Looking at Entei, I mean, the only real issue I had with Entei is why you were running Bite. I mean, I get it, like, you know, you kind of want to go for type coverage, but I feel like that's just kind of forcing type coverage that Entei doesn't really want to fill. Like, if your best move for that is base 60, it's not really the best move to use. And I get it, there's like the hidden powers, so I mean there's that. But I mean, hidden power is really only viable whenever it's like 4 times effective. And I could be wrong, but I don't think that he actually had anything that would have taken 4 times damage from Dark. And I mean, looking at Entei's stat distribution, Shadow Ball could have been a better bring, just because it has like about the same type coverage. And Entei's special attack really isn't that bad. I think it's at like 90 something, so I don't know. Even still, I don't think Shadow Ball was the best spring. I just feel like it was kind of forcing Entei to cover a typing that it wasn't really meant to cover. Just make sure that you're not forcing your mons to do things that they aren't really built to do. I do think that you should definitely be unpredictable in the way that you're playing, for sure, but not unpredictable in the sense that it's just moves that I personally didn't see coming in handy in this match. Yeah, I think you had a really good start, and I think that you played pretty well all throughout, so congrats on the first W, and what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, definitely, like, to go off your, like, whole conversation, yeah, it's definitely, like, base 60 not stab is sometimes, like, even though it's, like, double damage, sometimes stab is just better because it's stronger and it gets stab bonus. And by preserving your You mean Shiv, right? Because it's Shiv.
Huh?
I was just saying that you were like, oh, preserve your Mega like the top team player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Shiv was definitely a team I had in mind. And then
Yeah.
I also saw I can't think of which team has it. It might be King with the Mega Gardevoir. I know like the first couple weeks he was doing really well with that.
Yeah, no, okay. I definitely feel it. I was just like, yeah, he means Shiv.
Yeah.
Alright. But back to Kurt. Okay. Black Hole Eclipse was like a great bring. Just like turn one, fire it off. Had he not been Carrier, he would have just bent over. And even then, Dark Pulse was just able to pick it off. Knowing your history, I'm surprised you brought Focus Miss, because you have missed many Blizzards, and I think, and so I was like, wow, that was ballsy. Yeah, again, Mega Altaria, not even Mega Altaria yet, just Altaria is not the switch in for Arcanine. The only reason I saw you going into it, like, let me rephrase that. You should have gone into Slowking. The only reason you wouldn't have is if you feared the Wild Charge, but pre-Mega, Mega Altaria is also a flying type, so it still wouldn't have liked it. I saw a lot of Toxic, which was nice. Like, it definitely got off the damage it needed to, especially on mods like Prof Rodriguez. But some turns, you were just better off, like, getting attack damage off. Watching his playstyle, we see him making a lot of switches, and Toxic really does its work when they stay in for a little bit, so the fact that he kept switching so much, you would have better off just getting, like, a small hit off, even if it's not effective. But that's all I have to say for him. Here's, like, our biggest change. So, at number 9...
I say we go for my number 9 first, just because how different this is. Like, at least we're kind of close together on Florida Fennekins.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about them, and I'll go first. So yeah, we have the next victim of the Birmingham Blisseys here. See, looking at individual mons, I think that Galvantula was played really well around the Mega Slowbro. Every time that thing was in against it, of course, Shiv had to switch out, and he always went for Volt Switch to keep the momentum, which was nice. I also think that Blaziken was played really well. I really like to see the Thunder Punch prediction when it was in against Kyurem Black. He was predicting, I guess, either Slowbro or Golbat to come in, and Golbat did actually end up coming in and taking like a solid, I think, over 50%. And by the end of its time on the field, it was able to take down Drapion, which has proven itself as one of Shiv's best offensive threats, and Golbat, which is always a solid defensive threat. I really liked seeing the way Registeel was used at the beginning, getting not one, but two paralysis, one on Clefable and one on Drapion, and then of course later came in and paralyzed Snorlax, and maybe even the Mega Slowbro. I don't know. Everything got paralyzed this game. This was just the game of paralysis. Because like I'm pretty sure there was only like maybe 3 mons total that didn't end up getting paralyzed from both teams. But
yeah, if it wasn't Thunderwave, it was Body Slam.
Yeah, Snorlax and Registeel were paralyzing everything. But Salamence, I really like seeing Dragon Dance Steel Wing for Clefable, and I really like the way that you played around Clefable in general. You kind of shut it down more so than any other team has so far in the league against Shiv. Aside from the Reflect and Light Screen that got set up at the beginning of the game, Clefable didn't get a chance to do anything, which was really nice, especially since you were paralyzing everything. It couldn't go for Heal Bell if he was running that, and I don't know, I think that Clefable is one of the more threatening things on his team just because how versatile it is, and you definitely made sure that it couldn't do anything, which is good to see. The issue I have with Salamence is leaving it in on Mega Slowbro to go for the Dragon Dance, and this is like very reminiscent of when you left it in on my Mega Aggron to do the same thing. I really feel like you would benefit from scouting out for the Ice move, because as was the case with my Aggron, I went for Ice Punch on the Dragon Dance, he went for Ice Beam on the Dragon Dance, and Salamence obviously doesn't appreciate the Ice type move. And I feel like the mistake here is, and this is just like a public service announcement to everyone, because I feel like a lot of people are suffering to Shiv's Mega Slowbro for this reason. Mega Slowbro isn't only meant to play defense, okay? This thing has a base 130 special attack, and if you're not careful around it, it will take lives. Like, I feel like a lot of people get the idea that just because it has insane physical defense, that's the only role it fills, and that is not the case at all. So, definitely be looking out for that. The only thing I can really say with Mamoswine in terms of using it better was that I feel like if you had brought it in on a turn when Snorlax was going for rest, then you could have done a little bit more, rather than bringing it in when he went for Sleep Talk. And I can't really fault you too much for that, because that would have come down to like mind games as far as predicting when he would use rest. And granted, the situation was pretty confusing, but I mean, I definitely think that you had a chance to win this if a couple of plays had gone different, and I actually am very impressed with the way that you did play.
Yeah,
I guess that's all I really have to say. I definitely think you played well, and I don't blame you for losing to Shiv, because the Birmingham Blisseys have been on a tear throughout this entire league. So, I mean, solid week. Looking forward to seeing you bounce back next week.
Yeah. I mean, you basically covered all of what I had to say. I just want to, like, say, like, I think I actually have you a bit higher, but, like, I forget. But, like, I didn't want to drop you, but I think I might have, just because I had nowhere else to put you, if that makes sense. That's what I was saying in the beginning. Like, you lost to Shiv. Like, everyone loses to Shiv. It's no big deal. But, I just want to say I hate you. Paraflinch is disgusting. And, I think that with the Mamoswine play, that, like, I think it came a bit too early. Like, I think you should have gotten everything you could have out of Registeel first, and then gone Mamoswine. And with Salamence, especially against Mega Slowbro, you were trying to set up way too early. Like, you weren't going to get much done against Mega Slowbro anyways, so it had no reason to be in. And I love seeing Registeel put in work with the paralysis, because it really did, like, stop some of his plays. I don't think, like, and it was nothing too major. It wasn't, like, super hacksy, but, like, it got its job done. And overall, again, you just played solid. Like,
Yeah, you came the closest to taking down Shiv than any other team so far. In fact, you took out more of Shiv's teams, or Shiv's members, than the first two teams combined did, so you got that to brag about. I do want to say, kind of like what Tsumami just said a second ago and how he said at the beginning, this is where we really start to move into the part of our lists where people are kind of placed in areas, not particularly because they did poorly, or like we dropped some people not because they did bad, but our placements are all very close. I know personally, like the next 5 are like neck and neck in my mind. It was just kind of a matter of, like you said, like some people had to definitely go in certain places and others just kind of had to fall around it. So like I said, I feel like the Florida Fennekins had a really good week. I still ended up dropping them, I believe, 2 or 3 spaces from last week.
Just because, there's nowhere else to put you.
Yeah. So this is where we get to the biggest difference. And this is actually a great example of what I'm trying to explain. We have the Holland Heracross. Tsumami has them at 9. I have them all the way up at 4. So this will be interesting to hear the reasoning as to why. We actually haven't discussed reasoning, so I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I wanted to save it for the video. And here's my reasoning. Now, you're the replacement for the Mirashi Marshadows, coached by Citrus, who we had at, like, 2nd and 3rd. And I just wanted to kind of reset you, so, like as if you hadn't won any games before, because it's one thing to have a good team, but it's another to use it well. In this match, I wasn't, like, too impressed. You had some good moments, but overall, I just want to see more. If you start winning your matches, sure, you're going to shoot up in the power rankings. But for right now, I have to keep you down low, if that makes sense. So why I have you down here? Like I said, I was impressed by certain things. You had amazing momentum right off the bat with Serena Infernape, but you went straight back into Infernape and Fire Blasted the Zapdos, which after Roost got it back to full health. You achieved nothing with your momentum. It completely stopped there. But you did, like, make smart calls. Like, you went into Swampert directly instead of using U-turns, so that way people wouldn't know what to switch into, which was smart. Hurricane Pelipper was interesting. I would have just gone into Infernape or Volcarona, against Ferrothorn, just because Ferrothorn has 2 weaknesses, only being fighting and and fire, so you really need to capitalize on those because he has such crazy defenses. Like I said, momentum, you had good momentum. I just don't think you were momentuming into the correct mods. And I said this with, I believe, the Chicago Bulus, is that player analysis. We've already seen Zapdos carry flying coverage, so bringing Volcarona against it wasn't your best idea. Had you known that, at least, like, watch his replays, which could have been a good shout. Grass Knot and Fernape was nice, and I believe you misclicked. I saw that in the chat. I don't exactly know when. I believe you misclicked and switched Infernape in against Cobalion, and that I do think that cost you the game. But you did have like some good recovery. When you had Infernape in against Diancie, there was no reason for you to Fire Blast. I think that you should have just gone into done Grass Knot, and if he like went down good, if he switched out, then you could have sacked off Swampert. But overall, I am impressed. I just want to see more. What about you, Sketch?
So yeah, I have him up way higher. As I mentioned earlier, I have him at 4, and I guess it's just because I went with a different philosophy of ranking. As he said, he kind of just gave him a fresh start. I kept him up with Tracer's momentum. So Tracer was at 2 last week. I dropped him 2 places here. I definitely understand the reasoning now for placing him at 9, but I will say that I was actually really impressed with his playstyle. I like seeing how focused on momentum he is. Like you mentioned, U-turn with Serena and Infernape. It wasn't even just at the beginning. That was kind of a constant throughout the match of just U-turning. Yeah. And I like that he was switching up what he brought in against certain mons. Like kind of showed that he had options and to really keep Rebel guessing what he was going to go into or when he was going to do what. Yeah, I'm definitely impressed with the way that he plays. I just think that your team composition is really weird. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the idea was necessarily, but I definitely like the Rain Core. You know, Pelipper, Mega Swampert is a force to be reckoned with, but arguably 2 of your like main offensive threats are fire types, which don't appreciate the rain at all. That being Infernape and Volcarona, and we see this play out pretty late game. Infernape had to go for Fire Blast in the rain, and it did like nothing. I think that Volcarona had the potential to do a lot more if it had set up against something that wasn't Zapdos. Granted, it did take down the Zapdos, which was nice, but it also lost like most of its HP to the Drill Peck. I feel like you might have been better off setting up on the Ferrothorn. I actually have in my notes here, or the Cobalion, but I just remember Cobalion was running Stone Edge, I believe. So yeah, don't set up on Stone Edge Cobalion. But yeah, I definitely feel like you could have set the Volcarona up on something a little bit better. I don't agree with leaving Florges in against the Victini when V-Create was already revealed, just because Florges' regular defense isn't really all that, especially considering V-Create hits really hard, and you had 2 switch-ins to it with Swampert and Pelipper. Granted, it was carrying Bolt Strike and Energy Ball for both, but I feel like just based on the way that you were playing and switching, he wasn't really trying to predict you to switch into either. Yeah, I think that Focus Punch on Mega Swampert was kind of weird also.
Yeah.
I believe it also gets Hammer Arm and Superpower if you really wanted that fighting coverage. I guess it was there for Ferrothorn maybe. I never really saw it actually come in handy at any point during the match. It wasn't like it was sub-Focus Punch or anything, it was just regular Focus Punch. And I mean, you did end up using it whenever he switched in, but even whatever he switched into didn't take all that much damage from it. I just feel like it could have, like, that's a move slot that you might have benefited from putting something else, like maybe Hammer Arm, like I said. But definitely just try to keep an eye on your team composition moving forward. That was the biggest issue I had. I don't know, the rain is just going to screw over Infernape and Volcarona. And I'm not saying that any week that you bring Pelipper and Mega Swampert, don't bring Infernape or Volcarona. But I definitely wouldn't bring both if that was what you were going to go with. Just because that's like a solid third of your team that's getting screwed over by your rain setter. Yeah, if you can win matches, then you'll probably make your way back up to top 3, because I definitely don't think that you played bad at all in that match. Just interesting team comp, to say the least. But yeah, I was definitely impressed with the way that you played, and I'm looking forward to having you as a part of the league.
Yeah, synergy is definitely a big thing. Now, at my number 8, I believe.
You're number 7, my number 8.
Number 7. All right.
Yes.
Well, it is the one, the only man, the myth, legend, Sketch, Assault Vest. Right. So, should I go first, or do you want to talk about yourself?
You go ahead.
All right. I call this game Switch in Buzzwole. In your first few turns, you definitely need to find some mid-ground plays. When you had Escavalier in, again, you went straight into Crobat, and he called that and went for Iron Head. Buzzwole ate both the Drill Run and the Iron Head pretty well, and I don't exactly know what you were thinking when you subbed against Venusaur. Like, you should have just switched out at that point.
I will address that when I get to it.
Alright. However, Delphox is not the mid-ground play against Manaphy. I don't know what was happening there. I would have rather you sacked off Raikou, just because Delphox matches up so well against his team with Venusaur, especially getting the Psychic coverage, so that way it's not covered by Thick Fat. Lucario with both Psychic and Fire coverage. And, what's it called? The Spear Bug, Pokebug.
Escavalier.
Steel. Escavalier can Pokebug. I don't agree with going for taunt against with Crocodile.
Neither do I. Believe me.
If you feared the Synthesis or the Leech Seed, you were still better off just getting damage. And if you were max speed, max nature Crook, max speed plus nature Crook, it would have been a good answer to Lucario because you outsped it naturally, even if it was max bulk. Granted, at the very end, Buzzwole, it needed as much health as it could get against Venusaur, but had you made certain plays, I think you wouldn't have ended up in that situation. And turn 22 was one of the moments where you don't switch in Buzzwole, because it took the Sludge Bomb very poorly. What do you have to say?
No, I believe Buzzwole was already in on that turn.
Was it? Well,
yeah, because that was after I tried to
22.
set up with Z bulk up when I went for Sludge Bomb, I believe.
You switched it into something, okay? I forget.
No, I really don't think I did, but I don't know. I mean, I could have. I'm pretty sure I didn't just switch in out of nowhere, but I don't know. Maybe I'm lying. Yeah, this is a difficult match for me to watch. I really like my team. I'm not using them effectively at all, and it makes me cringe. What issue should I address first? I guess I'll talk about Raikou. And I actually dropped Raikou after this match, because I have not been using Raikou in this league well at all. I think that I was really just trying to push the substitute setup way too much, way too early. I forget what I was in against, but I know almost right away I tried to set up substitute. Yeah, it was in against Escavalier, and I went for substitute and just lost 25% right there unnecessarily. I would have saved a lot more HP if I just went for the Thunderbolt on that play, rather than trying to set up... Actually, it was on the Manaphy, he switched into Escavalier. I definitely agree, switching in Buzzwole could have been smart, but I mean... you'll see early in the match I'm doing a lot of switching, because I was scouting for Aerial Ace on Escavalier, and that's why I was a little iffy about bringing in Buzzwole there. So...
I would have been...
Yeah, because you see, I bring in Crobat on the Raikou switch, and then he goes for the Iron Head there, which was devastating.
Pretty rough.
After that turn, I believe that's when I bring in Buzzwole and take whatever he went for. And then I switch a third time just to see if he's actually going to go for Aerial Ace or if he's going to switch out or what his play is. And once I realized that he didn't actually have Aerial Ace, then I realized that Buzzwole could be a switch-in for it. But it didn't really show back up until I think the end of the game anyway, so it didn't matter too much. Setting up the substitute against the Venusaur, I was running calcs, and I believe that with my investment, it was able to like survive. I believe that Venusaur wasn't able to break the sub reliably. Like there was a chance of it not fading if it went for Giga Drain, just because I was running a very bulky, specially defensive set on Raikou this week. It was just kind of unfortunate because I think that it was actually a high roll that he needed to break the substitute, and that's why I went for it there. Raikou kind of got screwed over like all match. It got critical hit by Dazzling Gleam 2 times, I believe, one by Manaphy, and then again by Tapu Koko. And with my spread, it definitely did matter a decent amount just because I was able to do a lot of damage to Tapu Koko with my set. In fact, Tapu Koko was the reason why I brought Substitute in the first place. My play there was just to actually go for Substitute because Dazzling Gleam and Thunderbolt, even on electric terrain, wouldn't have broken it. And then I could have Calm Minded up and even countered it and used his electric terrain against him. Unfortunately, the critical hits had other ideas for that. But I mean, really, I was just kind of pushing the Substitute way too much, trying to set it up against Venusaur and Escavalier, when really its main purpose of being there was for Tapu Koko. And by the time Tapu Koko was actually on the field, I didn't really have much HP to thrive with the strategy that I initially brought it for. Dropping Delphox, I don't know. I took a look at my team, and it was kind of one of those things where I didn't want to bring in Mega Aggron because it could get burned, and it didn't really have anything to do in return. I didn't want to just switch in Crobat because it definitely couldn't take 2. You were saying I could drop Raikou, but Raikou was like one of my very few answers to Tapu Koko, and Crocodile would have gotten destroyed. So really, it was just kind of like, and it was kind of like back and forth as to what should I sack off, Delphox or Crocodile, and I don't know. I just thought that Crocodile might be a little bit more useful for me. Really, like, the Scarf Manaphy was very threatening against my team, and lots of props to Honor for spotting that and deciding to bring it. But, I kind of just had to get rid of Delphox there, and just to maybe hope that he tries to make a prediction and go for something else, like maybe Ice Beam or whatever. I don't see a reason why he would go for Ice Beam. I guess maybe for Crobat or something. But
misclick.
Yeah, hope for the misclick. I was running Extrasensory, by the way, on Raikou. I don't know if I ended up revealing it or not against the Venusaur, but the plan was to go for Substitute, maybe Calm Mind up once, and then Extrasensory it and like drop its health a lot. My main issue was that I was really relying on Buzzwole being able to set up on the Venusaur, and for whatever reason, I didn't calc it, but I was just like, oh yeah, 2 times attack, Leech Life from Buzzwole should definitely take out Venusaur. So I just kind of like banked on that, like Okoing it and getting the Beast Boost. And you'll see like a lot of my play towards the end of the game is geared around that idea, because I went for Taunt with Crocodile just so that he couldn't use Sleep Powder if I set up with Buzzwole. Really, the obvious play that I should have gone for was just switch out Crocodile and bring in Mega Aggron. Giga Drain doesn't do anything, Sludge Bomb doesn't do anything. Maybe he could try to go for HP Fire, and if he had Sleep Powder, then I guess he could have revealed it, but I don't think it was worth dropping Crocodile then, like just to go for a taunt. I think that was a terrible idea, and definitely a choke at the end. I definitely have a lot of issues with the way I played, as you can tell, because I'm probably beating myself up more than anybody else I've done PR for. But I also had some issues just with my team in general, and that's why I made like all 3 of my free agent trades in this 1 week. The biggest issue I had, I think, was with Raikou, just because I haven't really been using Raikou that effectively. But Raikou was like my my tier 1 pick, or like, is that the tiers? Is that the way we did tiers in this league?
I don't know.
I don't know. We did like the point system. Basically, Raikou, in my opinion, is definitely not worth 180 points. I would say it's a solid 120, and the fact that I was using 180 on Raikou, which I just haven't been able to use very well, was kind of just a bad idea in my opinion. So I ended up dropping it for Latios to give myself like a defogger that actually appreciates stealth rocks, and like just switch up the team a little bit. So I'm excited about like all the changes that I made. I did pick up Heliolisk, which I think does Raiku's job just about as good. Obviously a little worse because it's not Raikou, but I mean I think it's a good replacement, and I'm looking forward to using these new free agents to do some good things in the league moving on.
Oh yeah, doesn't it go great for you week 4?
No, it does not. Yeah, spoilers, I lose week 4. But we'll talk about that more next week.
Alright, well, moving on, so our list is kind of just like fragmented, like you have yours, or I have mine, I think a list higher, so we'll just kind of go with it. Next up we have actually your opponent, Honor, and the LA Raichargers.
Oh, cool, that makes sense. We just talk about him right now then.
What do you have to say?
I definitely think that Honor played well. Looking at individual mons, that's generally how I try to go with these analysis. Just see what everything did. I don't know why Tapu Koko had Electric Seed. Like I get it, like it gives the defense boost and all, but even with a defense boost, Tapu Koko's pretty frail. Even on the special side, I just feel like the item that it brought could have definitely been a lot more useful if it was something else like Life Orb or maybe even leftovers if you were trying to preserve it a little bit more, or like a berry, or I don't know. Personally, I just don't think that Electric Seed was the best bet, especially since you can only use it once. I liked seeing the prediction with the Iron Head on my switch from Raikou to Crobat. I think that you definitely noted that Crobat is a pretty big threat on my team from last week, so you did a nice job at shutting it down this week. Scarf Manaphy, as I mentioned earlier, was a really nice bring. There really wasn't too much on my team that really wanted to deal with it, and I think that was a nice use of the Lucario Z move this week as opposed to last week. I know I had some issues with what move you chose to bring, and I think that All Out Pummeling was definitely an appropriate choice for this matchup. Yeah, I really don't have too much to say outside of that for Honor's side of the match. I definitely think that it was a pretty straightforward match, I think, from Honor's side of things, and ultimately it just came down to the fact that he played better than I did. There isn't really, I think, like a super tremendous amount of prep that he did, like nothing that like really sticks out, but like nothing that really sticks out in a bad way either. Yeah, definitely good match to my opponent. I look forward to seeing you do better things in the next weeks or the next following couple weeks. But what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I have it, like, he played solid. I can nitpick a few things, but like it was one of those matches where like he did what he had to do. Nothing was absolutely stellar, but like he didn't do anything bad per se. I definitely disagree with like the Electric Seed. I would have liked to see like maybe a Focus Sash if you wanted to live a hit better, because Tapu Koko is just going to go down. Or like a berry, maybe like Kebia Acrobatics, I don't know.
Yeah.
You definitely played solid. Scarf Manaphy, like again, just because I'm nitpicking at this point, Scarf Manaphy appreciates Surf, like extra damage more than just the burn chance. Escavalier was a great wall in this match. I definitely liked it. One thing like good players do that you did is you preserve like win conditions to the end, and you definitely preserved the all-out pummeling Lucario really well. I liked seeing that. However, team composition, I would kind of liked Flygon more than I liked Marowak this match, just because it gave you a ground immunity, and your team's already kind of not appreciating ground types in general. So like Earthquake spam was a big issue for you. And overall, you played really aggressive, and I liked that. One thing I critiqued you against King is you kept making defensive plays that kept you on the back foot, but this week you really played well and like started pushing you back.
Yeah, let me go back to me real quick and body myself one more time. I don't know why I went for Earthquake when it was Crocodile against Alolan Marowak instead of Knockoff, just because they do just about the same damage, and Knockoff had the chance of getting rid of the item if he brought something in. So that definitely would have come in handy with the Manaphy switching, because getting rid of that Choice Scarf would have been crucial for sure. So just got to go back and destroy myself a little bit more.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But
Up next is the Shining Suicune. Now, what do you have to say about them?
um, I think that this was a pretty good week for the Chinese Suicune. Lupus was
Hmm.
up against
The Chicago
Easy.
Blue.
That's right. Yeah, he was up against Easy, and let me see. I think that Heat Ran could have been preserved a little bit better. Kurt mentioned in the draft analysis that your team kind of relies on Heat Ran, and I definitely still think that that's the case. Even though you picked up the win largely without it this week, your
Hmm.
team could have benefited and made this a more decisive victory if you kept it around. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it did its job. It got Stealth Rocks up. I just don't think that leaving Heat Ran
Stacking
in
it all.
against something that goes for Earthquake just because it has a Focus Sash is a good idea. Um,
Hmm.
I think that Gutra was used really well. Really nice type coverage, provided consistent pressure, and that was really cool. Um, I liked seeing. Oh, I loved the way that Sigilif was used at the beginning of this match. Got the Thunder Wave on
Hmm.
Celesteela, and then Magic Coated the Leech Seed back at it, which is really cool to see. I don't know. I really love seeing Magic Coat used. I believe you actually used it week one to bounce back like Stealth Rocks or something. But
Yep.
yeah, I think this was a solid week for them. I don't have too much to say for them either.
Hmm.
Yeah, what about you?
Me, yeah, no, I definitely think this was a great week for them. Um, Turn one, I don't know if it was a predict, but I still don't recommend Thunder waving the Mega Sceptile with Lightning Rod. Had he stayed in, he would have been against 145 base speed, 145 plus one special attack, and that could have been real bad.
I didn't even notice that, but yeah, you're definitely right.
Yeah, Sigilith though did run some great tech. The T wave, Magico bouncing the Leech Seed back was great. I think you were unafraid of Embor, which I think kind of was bad. I think you should have, like, sure you had the sash on Heatran, but the Earthquake was obvious there. And Heatran dealt with two of his top threats, and letting it go down to the sash was not a good idea, especially when rocks went up. You just had to sack off Heatran, and, like, picking between, like, offensive pressure and, like, sacking off a Pokemon for intel, I definitely picked the offensive pressure there. I would have protected with Suicune first instead of going for Scald, just so that way you could have stalled out his Sandstorm turns. You tried to play for the burn and you did get it, which, good for you. And Protect overall was a great move to bring this week. It protected you from the Wild Charge, from the from the Scarf Embor, not Scarf, Choice, whatever. And Juja overall just like was a great bring. It had perfect coverage. It ate hits. And it put off like great offensive pressure. And at the very end, I loved how you went for Thunder Wave against the Embor. It was good to see that you're thinking about the end game, not just immediate damage. And overall, you played fantastic.
Yeah,
Shall we
really
move
great
on
week.
to Articulus?
Yes, Articulus is reigning in at my number 5 and your number 4. And
Oh boy.
this was actually your match. Do you want the
Yeah,
honors of speaking first, or should I take it?
sure. I'll go. I just want to say props to you, man. Like, this is probably one of my favorite battles. Just putting it out there, just because it was fun to play. Um, Tricking Pyukumuku first turn was like really good. It like Pyukumuku is like an amazing wall. It does nothing like damage wise, but it does wall a lot of good threats. And one thing I really need to just get out of the way is like prep your team, man. Don't just reuse it. Use the same team you used against Kurt, and like that cost you this game. And it was just bad for you that you didn't bring a team. Like none of that. That's all up to you, man. Like I would have had you lower at 5, but like again, I just had nowhere else to put you, and I just really think you need to prep. But like getting back into the battle, Umbreon. So you had Cress in against +2 Shedinja, and Shedinja is also Bug type, and that's a shared typeness weakness. So I would not have switched Umbreon in against Shedinja. And you tried Scalding the Shedinja 2, like when it first came out, and I don't know what you were trying to do there. Like Scald wouldn't burn me because A, the terrain, and B, and it was Wonder Guard, man. Like, I don't know what you're trying to get at, but you did make some great plays. Like, after using Draco Meteor, you used Sub-Zero Slammer to ensure you got the kills even at -2, and you still did play amazing. What do you have to say?
I really love Articulus' team. I mentioned this last week. I didn't realize how good his team was until I actually mocked for you for this battle. That's why I didn't drop him too much. I don't know. Articulus is the only team that I didn't actually take individual notes for each Pokemon. Just because, I don't know, like I feel like if I really nitpicked, I could find like a solid 50 flaws. Only because he didn't actually prep a team for the week. And I get it, he was concerned because, you know, he took a while actually getting around to playing the battle, and he was under the impression that like if he didn't play right away, he might get dropped from the league or something. But I mean, I definitely think that if you're in a situation like that, he would benefit from asking for some time to adjust your team. Even if you wanted to bring a similar team and just try to like rush through and maybe like change some of the moves, I feel like that could have definitely won the match for you if you had done that. Playing around Shedinja, as Tsumami mentioned, was a huge issue this week. I don't know, I feel like like I mentioned last week, I had 2 moments that made me cringe. This is the moment that makes me cringe when I watch it. I can kind of maybe let it slide if you didn't know what Shedinja did, so you went for Scald the first turn. Like, I get that. But if you see that Scald isn't doing anything, that's where I would stop the battle and look up what Wonder Guard does. And if you had, you would see Shedinja only takes damage from super effective moves. So you just let him sit there and Sword Stance off in top of any space, because I believe he actually went for like 2 or 3 more Scalds while Shedinja just sat there.
No, he just kept spamming it.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't know what you hope to accomplish with that, but you definitely should have looked up the mechanics, maybe, of how it works. But, you know, the only advice I'm actually going to give, like I said, I'm not going to, like, critique you too hard, because I know that you didn't really prep your team. Just make sure that you actually have the team that you want to use for the battle, and make sure that you're looking up what every single mon on your opponent actually does. Because I feel like Shedinja was one of those low-key, oh, he's not going to bring that kind of threats. But if you don't know what it does, definitely familiarize yourself with the entire opponent's team before you show up to battle. I still think that he has, like, one of the most threatening teams. Actually, he honestly might have the most threatening team, in my opinion. So, I mean, that's why I'm not going to drop him, like, super hard, like, from top 3. I have him at 5 right now, because I think that he's just going to jump right back up by next week. But, yeah, with that, I think we're ready to move on to the top 3.
Can I add one more thing?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
There was one play I completely forgot to mention. I just thought it was super cool. Shedinja against Cresselia, you actually tricked away my Focus Sash, which was, like, a super cool move. But that's all.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Continue. Number
Alright,
3.
Well, yeah, as long as you're ready, then I think we're good to move to top 3. And we actually both have the same exact top 3. So, number 3, we have Rebel and the Toronto Staraptors. And do you want to talk about him first?
No, you can.
Alright, well, I don't know. I feel like this was, like I said, this was just kind of a weird week for me in terms of analyzing battles, because I definitely think that Rebel played well, but he didn't play, like, super ridiculously fantastic to the point where, like, there's, like, certain plays that I would definitely, like, praise. Like, it's not like a, oh, he went for Kebia acrobatics kind of week. You know, it's more like getting the burn on Serena was nice with the Rotom. I like the type coverage that Victini brought. That's actually all that I have written down in terms of individual Pokemon notes. I don't know, I just feel like it was a very safe and straightforward match, which isn't a bad thing. Those matches are pretty nice to see every now and then. Playing it safe isn't always the worst thing. I know sometimes Tsumami says that you have to make like the ballsy predictions, but I feel like playing it safe really worked well for you.
Yeah, well, that's on the back foot, okay?
Yeah.
Both be right, okay? Oh,
okay, I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. But, Yeah, like there wasn't really anything terrible that I noticed in your playstyle this week. I don't think I actually wrote down any flaws. It's just not one of those matches where I can move you much higher than 3 just because you didn't really do anything super notable. I don't know, like I said, like this is like a really weird week because I feel like everything from like 2nd place down to like 7th place are all really close together in my mind, and I feel like this is just one of the cases of you fall in 3rd place because there really wasn't anywhere else to put you. But that's not to say that you don't deserve top 3. But I don't know, if you lose a match, actually no, you didn't lose a match because you beat me. But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of in a place like where if you had lost a match, then you probably would have like dropped down like a decent amount, just because it wasn't like super established like high key threat type of thing for me. But I definitely think it was a good week for the Toronto Staraptors, definitely. And what do you think about that?
Boy. Yeah, no, I have the same, like, well, like, there's nothing super notable. I loved the coverage with Victini. You ran a mix set with Energy Ball. That was cool. Zapdos had flying coverage for the Volcarona. That was cool. I mean, you could have gotten rocks up against Swampert, because, like, the switch was obvious there. I don't see why you went for Power Whip, because, like, well, 1, it could miss, and 2, like, he was going to switch out against Ferrothorn, who was 4 times weak. You brought Rotom, Diancie, and you played good.
Yeah, and, like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm, like, trashing his team or anything, because he didn't play bad at all, like I'm saying. It's just that, like, there really isn't too much to say about this. Like, this was probably the most straightforward match of the week.
You made the plays you had to, and it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a firm believer that, like, you do what you gotta do to win, and if you have a win at the end of the day, then, like, props to you, you know? So, I'm not gonna, like, critique you. I honestly don't have anything bad to say. I don't know, like, this is just a really weird, weird match to analyze, for sure. But yeah. So if you're ready, next, I say we move to both of our number 2s, which is you, the Seattle Salandit.
Alright, give me a sec, alright.
Alright.
Because I'm really triggered. So, alright, so I genuinely, and Sketch was there for it, because Sketch is like my front office, like days to weeks of just like staring at his team, figuring out how to break his walls. Umbreon does not die, Cresselia does not die, they don't die. And so I was just staring at it, and I was like, I got a meme on it, you know? It's the meme and dream strat, okay? So here was the plan. And it executed perfectly, too. It happened. I got rocks up. Got my rocks up. Cool. He goes into Tapu Fini, and I bring in Thundurus, because I know he's going to defog. He doesn't want to take the chip. I know he's going to defog. He defogs. Boom. Defiant Crocs. Yes, alright? Defiant +2 attack, which is good, alright? It's still not enough to kill half his team. So I'm like, how do I counter that? I know, I'll Z-Bulk up, because I know he's not staying in with Tapu Fini. He's gonna go Landorus, intimidate me, give me an extra, so at this point I'm +5, +1 defense, alright? And that +1 defense is actually super important, because outside of a crit, which is what happens, I would have lived the Stone Edge and swept him. I'm super salty. He crit me. I have the calc pulled up right here. Adamant 252 Landorus Therian Stone Edge versus +1 0 HP 0 defense Thundurus does 77 to 91%. I would have lived it if he didn't crit me, and I would have swept him 6-0 and demolished him. It didn't happen, and I'm salty. But I was like, after that happened, he crit me. I'm sitting in my chair, and I'm lost for words. Like, that was my one win con in place. That was all I had to beat him. And, oh my gosh, it was bad. However, and going back, like, just like telling this as a story, I was just sitting down, staring at my team, staring at his team. I forget, I think I had Silvally Ghost. And I
believe you had Ground that week.
Oh, Ground? Yeah, well, I just tell Honor and Sketch, I'm like, you know what if I just run Shedinja? Like, at this point, it doesn't even matter. If Thunderous goes down, there's no hope anyways. But it actually does work out. So, God Incarnate himself, Shedinja, here to do it, brought this back. He definitely misplayed with Tapu Fini against Shedinja, and that did give me like the upper hand getting rid of Tapu Fini. I don't know why he was trying to scald it. Like, I wouldn't have gotten burned because of the train, and Scalds won't proc against Wonder Guard. And so I don't see why he didn't switch out, but I guess he just didn't understand what he did. Tapu Fini and Charizard both went down to like just wear and tear. Charizard going down to Surf from Slowbro. Umbreon going down to a +2 X-Scissor. And so this is the part where like I wish I could just like play it fast forward, because it is literally just a cycle of him. He brings in, I have Shedinja, he brings in Lando. I switch out into Slowbro. He brings in Cresselia, and I'm at this point Cresselia is Moonlight, so I'm trying to PP stall him because I have no way to get through that bulk. This is literally me trying to chip away at Lando. He'll bring in. I still have Venusaur and Excadrill in the back, and Excadrill was nice to get up rocks, which helps get that chip off. And Venusaur, I kind of just sacked to cure him, just in case of the HP fire. And it was literally just like, I have to keep continually getting damage off. And again, he crit me at one point with a, Landorus, God of Crits, crit me with a knockoff onto Slowbro, which did extra damage because Cresselia tricked me a Choice Scarf, which he got from the Excadrill, and so it was just a super stally point at that. I'm PP stalling him, trying to get rid of Landorus, and eventually I do, just out of pure PP. Like, he has to go for more Moonlights than I do because Cresselia isn't doing enough damage to Shedinja or Slowbro. So eventually I do get him, but it honestly all came down to bringing Shedinja this week, which I'm really proud of.
Yeah, I don't think this is a good week for the Seattle Salandit. Not trying to roast you at all, but just, I say this because I helped you prep, and I feel like this was Articulus's week to win. I don't think this was your week to win, but Shedinja made it happen somehow. Like, Shedinja is god tier right now in my mind. I think the funniest part about what happened is that, like you didn't mention this, you guys probably saw in the Discord, Tsumami dropped Shedinja, brought it to that match, did that, and immediately redrafted it. Like, he used 2 free agent picks on it. I told him after the match, I was like, dude, you gotta change your team name to the Seattle Shedinja, like, for your next league. But, I will say this. A little bit of criticism, and I only say this because I warned you about this happening exactly. I said, hey, Tsumami, make sure that you keep the Pyukumuku safe. And I said, hey, Tsumami, watch out for the trick Cresselia, because he's brought that 2 weeks in a row now. And at the very beginning, you let it get tricked with the choice specs, which was nice on Articulus's part, but just had to roast you for that, because I actually did say that, like, exactly.
I wanted the light screen for Thunderous, but whatever.
I think that you played Slowbro really well around the Mega Charizard. I know that there was an exchange where you knew he was going to go for Thunder Punch with Mega Charizard, so you brought in Excadrill, and then you brought in Pyukumuku on the incoming Flare Blitz to take the hit. And then you baton passed back into Slowbro with the regenerated health, and that kind of threatened him out. And I just liked seeing how Slowbro pivoted with Shedinja in the late game to lead to the victory when it came down to like Shedinja, not Pyukumuku, Shedinja, Slowbro, and Excadrill.
Wait. Stop right there. Are you saying that Slowbro can run Regenerator?
Yes, this is what happens when you remember to bring Regenerator on Slowbro. Crazy, right? I think that Venusaur had like really solid pressure against the Finny, and knocking off Umbreon's leftovers was definitely nice. Thunderous, as you mentioned, the prep and the setup could not have played out more beautifully until the crit. Like, I was sitting here watching this match, and I was like, okay, he got the Z bulk up, he got the defog, but there's no way he's gonna bring in Intimidate Lando after he just saw Defiant. And like, I don't know if he just forgot or he just wasn't thinking about it, but that's exactly what he did. And I was like, wow, he's set up, like he's golden. And then Stone Edge, critical hit, which was sad to watch just because he was so hyped about that idea before the game started. And I was like, wow, it's actually playing out like just as he was hoping it would. And then that happened.
It happened perfectly. I think I was typing to you like, sweep, 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 sweep. And it didn't happen.
Yeah, and Shedinja, I don't even know what to say about Shedinja. Literally the only notes I have is just GOAT in all caps, because it's the current GOAT of the league. Like, I don't know how. Like, maybe Shedinja just like screwed with your opponent's mind this week and just had like mind control powers, but they got the job done. So, I mean, shout out to Shedinja.
And then it gets leech seeded and it goes perfect.
No, that's not this week. We won't get into that. Alright, but yeah, for the third week in a row, we have the same number one team, the only team that's been in top 3 the entire season, and that is the Birmingham Blisseys.
Let's suck his dick more.
Oh yes, that is like my favorite thing to do. Not really, but yeah. Let's talk about Shiv. Do you want to go first, or do you want to?
Sure, I'll go first.
I said, do you want to go first, or do you want to? But yeah, you know what I meant.
I mean, I'm pretty sure what you're gonna do is like I'll say my thing, and you're like, yeah, what he said. Because Shiv, what else is there to say? You brought screens, light clay, perfect because. He brought a lot of offensive threats, and he like really prepped for it. Even though your team is so bulky, you're like, let's just throw a few more bulks, you know? You switched around amazingly. I loved Pursued Drapion because to play against your team, you realize they're gonna make switches, and I'm gonna capitalize on that. It was really good. You finally brought Pure and Black off the bench, and it was so hype. I was like, yo. A-tier pick, he's about to put in work. And what does it do? It eats hits and switches out. Like, offensive threat, Pure and Black, and you're using it as a pivot. That is like, how good do you have to be?
It's like a new meta right there. Forget the
bulk,
base 170 attack.
I don't want to play you.
Defense.
It's so like, it's just gross. You're so bulky. And you eat every hit, and you just hit back. You had Rest Snorlax, Body Slam, and Ice Punch, which was just, again, your prep is amazing. You pivot around beautifully. The only thing I can say is, like, I would have gotten rid of Registeel as soon as possible. Granted, you didn't have the chance to, but, like, I would have prioritized that just because of the Thunder Wave. But, like, man, what else is there to say? You're top tier.
Yeah, Kieran Black's definitely the MVP of the league. I think that it's put in the finest of work every single week, and it turns up and it just does what Kieran Blacks do best. Keep the bench warm. I don't know. I think that it's kind of cool because, like I said earlier, King kind of shut down the Clefable after it set up the screens at the beginning. Kieran Black really didn't do much except for like take hits. It literally didn't use a single move. I don't think it's used a move in this entire league yet. And Golbat didn't really do too much outside of switching it on the Tectonic Rage, which was really nice prediction. Yeah, that was a criticism I meant to say earlier on King's part. I don't know if you're still listening this far into the video, but being a little bit more careful about when you choose to use Z moves, because I think that the Golbat switching was kind of obvious there after Salamence already revealed Earthquake as the move he was going to use against Snorlax. But yeah, that was definitely a nice pivot into Golbat to get rid of the Z move. Mega Slowbro still hasn't died once. Like, it's literally been an unbreakable wall. It has not gone down a single time. I think that this is like a really impressive win just because, like I said, Kyurem, Clefable, and Golbat didn't really do too much. Really, it almost seemed like he won this match with like 3 Pokemon. Like just with Snorlax, Drapion, and Mega Slowbro. Pursuit on Drapion was amazing for the Hoopa. That was perfect prep. Toxic Spikes, even just that one layer again, had really nice pressure throughout the entire matchup. And Toxic Spikes just works so well with your team, just because all you do is sit there and take hits and recover off those hits and survive while your opponent is getting killed by the Toxic Spikes. I'm not looking forward to playing this team at all.
I'm not.
Yeah, I actually have here in the notes right now. This is the only team that's actually 3-0, which definitely proves that they're the current team to beat. I don't feel like playing them, but I have like ideas about how maybe I might be able to beat them, but I'm not gonna reveal those. But like I'm already thinking about like how to take down your team in advance, just because I feel like the only way I can actually win against Shiv is if I put in like a solid month of prep. And I really hope I don't play him next week, because that would suck. But, yeah, definitely another great week for the Birmingham Blisseys. That's all I really got to say.
Yeah, so Shiv, protect your passwords, hide your IP.
Yeah, because Tsumami said that the only way I can beat you is by hacking your computer, which is probably right, but...
I didn't say that was the only way.
It's just about the only way.
But that being said, that does wrap up our Week 3 power rankings for the Alolan Battlers League. Any final words?
Thanks for watching again. Thanks for all the support you guys have shown so far. Got lots of positive feedback so far, and we appreciate it because we work hard on this for free. But yeah, I hope you guys take this with a grain of salt. Of course, we're not trying to roast anybody, as I mentioned back in week 1, and I hope that you guys use our comments to grow as battlers and do better moving forward. I hope that we're giving good feedback for you guys, and we appreciate some feedback of our feedback, and just let us know how we're doing, or what you agree with, what you disagree with, all that stuff. You can
roast us.
Yeah, feel free to roast us, because I feel bad. I've been kind of like roasting you guys all season, and I mean, I deserve to be roasted too, so go ahead and do that if you want. And yeah, I guess that's all I really got to say.
Yeah. So this has been me, Tsumami.
And me, Sketch AV. Gonna get up out.
Right.
Peace.
Win your battles.